Welcome to our first South of Scotland Thistle Awards for 2024. Really appreciate you all coming and joining, and I hope the next hour will be give you a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of background and a little bit of hint going forward. So just to bring you up to speed, what we're going to do is an agenda where I'm going to give you a sort of South of Scotland perspective, why we're keen and driving it forward. Then Gordon Smith from Visit Scotland will give a perspective, a strategic national Visit Scotland perspective about why it's important nationally, but also giving you some guidance as to what you need to do to how you can write that award-winning application. We've then got Andrea Nicholas from Green Tourism, who's going to specifically look at that responsible tourism part. It's obviously significant and a major strand now in the Thistle Awards, and so giving us specific insight to that. We then have Rory Steele, who's going to give us an insight from being a Thistle winner, not only a South of Scotland one, but a national one. We were going to have Melanie, who, as we managed to win quite a collection of awards, but she's had to disappear off because of family problems. I was going to ask Triuntium, and I see that Francis, you're there, so if you feel you've got anything to add later on, fantastic, but no pressure at all. And then just before we finish, I'd like to give sort of 10 minutes to those questions, and then we close. So moving on. Basically, why do we have an award now in the south of Scotland? Well, as you know, back in 2020, SOCI and SSDA were born, and it created a real opportunity to really put the south of Scotland on the map, answering that question that there is a Scotland below Edinburgh and Glasgow, recognising the space, and really driving that recognition in marketing. It basically has obviously created a positive step to raising our national profile, both to visitors, but also raising our profile with at a national level with the industry. Thistles have been going for over 20 years. This style, thistles have been going for 30 years, but we've had regional events now for the last 20 years or so. But up until last year, the D&G and Scottish Borders were feeding into two different awards. And of course, that didn't make sense. What we wanted to do was bring the whole south of Scotland together to work together and compete and recognise each other's qualities. So we were asked April last year if we would take on the running of the Thistles. And because it made perfect sense, and because we were keen to support the industry to drive up their experience, their levels of quality, we rose to that challenge. Therefore, why are we doing it specifically? We have got the opportunity, because of course there's a spotlight on our region. It means that we are significantly, we will always have a place at the national final, where we never had that before. We have an opportunity now to work together and collaboratively share best practice. It helps up, as I've already mentioned, driving up our quality product, because we then feel that we're competing with like-minded businesses. It helps us secure our national profile, and it absolutely unifies the region. Certainly when we all came together at the regional awards in Dumfries, there was a real sense of camaraderie where we were all working together, and we had the opportunity for businesses that had never worked together, really working and linking with each other for the first time across the whole piece. And it was even more seen really when we went up to the national awards with so many of our South of Scotland winners, and I think we made the most noise, and we were the most unified, and it was a lot of fun, and everybody knew that the South of Scotland was there, and it was quite nice to find that we were in the room, I would say. So our successes for the first year, as I said, we started and agreed to deliver the thistles in April 2023. We started with enthusiasm. You all supported us on that. And we saw over 200 nominations and finally 112 entries, which was a good amount in comparison with the rest of Scotland. But as I have been told time and time again, it's actually about the quality, it's not about the numbers. So actually what we really needed were 3 fabulous quality businesses for each category. And it didn't matter what else was there. It's all about driving up the quality. The South of Scotland Thistle Awards, we ended up with 33 finalists and winners in 13 categories. It was a truly local event at the Cairndale Hotel, who supported us magnificently. We made sure it had a complete South of Scotland bias. All our suppliers, our food, our drink, perhaps not our drink, but our food came absolutely locally, and it was a fantastic celebration of what we can do. And we had 150 attendees, which was really good as a first one-off event. From that, we then went on to storm the nationals, and we brought back six trophies for the South of Scotland. That I think David is fond of quoting is more than we've got in the last 20 something years. We've only ever had more than 3 back in some from the 1900s, that's not right, from 1999, and ended up with having more than any other region. So really this whole enthusiasm to recognise and encourage our businesses to work together really paid off. And you can see there we had obviously our Silver Thistle winner, Wilma and David Finlay. Melanie with Nithbank had 2. Air Houses, Cross Keys, of course, we're always talking in Arden Holiday Cottage. So really significant. But even more than that, actually what it started to create was a fantastic relationship with SOCI, particularly Visit Scotland, and the industry panel to develop the thistles. And the industry panel, and we've got Andrea today and Gordon supporting us from that. It really is a collaboration of everybody in the tourism industry in Scotland working together so that we can drive that quality product. The milestones. So for this year, going forward, I can tell you that the date of our Thistle Awards is the 3rd of October, so put it in your diary. Venue will be the Scottish borders, but these are the milestones at the moment. You will have heard last Friday we opened up nominations. Nominations really are just a way of encouraging people you think are good to consider applying. On the 18th of March, our entry is open, and that is when the businesses themselves apply. Nominations close on the 31st of March, entries close on the 28th of March, and then we announce our finalists middle of July. So question, why should you apply? Well, basically, we had a good chat yesterday with many of our Thistle winners to try and understand the benefits of what they get. But basically, they get recognition amongst peers, so you recognise that your neighbours are fantastic. It provides a sense of pride amongst your staff. It gives you an opportunity to review your own business plan because you start to ask some questions that perhaps you've not been asking yourself previously. It gives you an opportunity to shout out about the achievements and developments that you're doing in your own space. It gives you another platform to do that. It obviously highlights and gives you opportunities to market yourself using this Thistle platform. And also it's an opportunity for rewarding staff and volunteers. Some of the things you need to think about are, well, looking at all the categories, what award category should you be applying for? You need to be considering, do you have enough evidence? Have you gathered the right amount of evidence to make that impactful application? If you are giving time to applying, then can I please strongly suggest you commit to it properly? And if you're here, then you're blatantly doing that already. But actually, if you're going to commit any amount of time, it's worth putting in that extra painful half hour to dot the T's and really make sure that you've given it all. With a nod to some of you online at the moment and feeling your pain, absolutely create any draft offline. Do not write straight into the website, because if it crashes, it will make you very sad. And therefore, really just considering, are you ready to apply? Is this year the year for you to apply? So if you're going to commit, is this the year to do it? Just to move on, the categories this year are listed there. I won't run through them, but you will see links to all the categories on our SSDA website. I should take a step back at this point, actually. Very briefly, we managed to produce the Thistle Awards last year, really much of a carbon copy of what Visit Scotland did. They very kindly lent us everything from their brand to their website to their event plans and budgets. We're trying to break away to give it much more of a South of Scotland feel this year. So we now have our own brand, and I should have highlighted it right at the very beginning. The website still remains on ssda.com, but if you look there, you will see there are a number of pages now that link you in. But at the same time, there are still links to the Visit Scotland website, because they are continuing to carry out the judging. And finally, from me, the other bit of why are you applying? Is it worth the cost? And of course, it's the cost of your time, it's the cost of your money and all your resources and your staff time. This is just sort of a snapshot of some of the stuff we did this year, for the 2023 Thistles. And this was particularly with reference to both the consumer and the B2B network. So recognizing, as I've said previously, your abilities and your product within your peers, but also that national piece, so you get recognized for visitors coming to the area. And we're working closely with Visit Scotland, who are developing that national brand, so that visitors to Scotland understand why a Thistle Winner is important. And this year we've had blogs on our Scotland Starts Here website. We've had adverts in advertising. We've done social media pieces, and obviously references on the Scotland Starts Here page to being an award winner. So that is me. I have managed to merrily go on far too long already, but I'm going to pass you over now to Gordon. Gordon, are you now with us?
Yes, I am, Sarah. Great to be with you all this afternoon. And yeah, what a great subject we've got to talk about today, the Scottish Thistle Awards, or the South of Scotland Thistle Awards. I'm Visit Scotland's Destination Development Director in the South of Scotland, and I've been in post for just under a year. And it's just really been fantastic to see the development of the South of Scotland Thistle Awards over the past year. And congratulations to SSDA for taking this on and really running with a very successful 2023 year of the South of Scotland Thistle Awards. But I also want to say congratulations to all those who have participated and been nominated, have got through to the South of Scotland finals, and to our 6 winners at national finals last December. What great accolades for the South of Scotland over the past year. My background in the world of thistles, having worked for Visit Scotland for many years, is that I have been a judge, I have been a category chair judge, and I've also attended 1 or 2 of the ceremonies over the years. So my role today is to talk through some of the strategic aspects of where we're going in the future with the Scottish Thistle Awards, but really to just give you some practical hints on the application process and what it looks like to go through some of the questions, and just to help unpack how applying for a Thistle Award what it looks like going forward. So if we can move on to the first slide, that would be great. There we go. So priorities and ambitions for the Scottish Thistle Awards. I want to just give you an overview of what's happening at a national level. Sarah's already highlighted, we already know that the south of Scotland is really embedded into our Thistle Awards programme, where we have that regional ownership and that distinct brand and process that Sarah's showed in the slides before. So we've got that 3 out of 5 regions across Scotland now regionally owned, that focus on ensuring that local brand and feel is captured regionally throughout the programme and event. And SSD have done a fantastic job in ensuring that has happened last year. And with some of the plans that I've seen in place for this year, we are moving well in that vein. Responsible tourism continues to be at the heart of all we do at Visit Scotland, and it continues to be part of all that's happening through the Thistle Awards. We want to continue to support the aim for Scotland to be recognised globally as a leader in responsible tourism through our practice and through our education, both with our visitors and with industry. So responsible tourism will be instilled through the awards and entries, in judging, in our communications, and we also want to ensure that our events themselves are delivered in a responsible way. And Andrea will unpack that further in the conversation. But just to remind you, the key pillars of responsible tourism, what we mean about responsible tourism is around the net zero ambition, around inclusive tourism, community engagement, and protecting our cultural and natural heritage. And we also have our ambitions for you as tourism businesses, as finalists and winners, providing support to you as we're doing today on how to become a winner, what that application process looks like, and we'll unpack that shortly. But we also want to promote the Thistle finalists and winners to ensure that they are considered as perhaps first call for some activity that we do at Visit Scotland. But I'm sure Rory will unpack a wee bit more in what he says in terms of some of the promotion he's seen as a result of being successful in last year's awards. So if we can move on, let's look at the journey of starting your entry as part of the Scottish Thistle Awards. And starting your entry, we need to review the categories and related questions and criteria before you begin. So Sarah's obviously shared that list of categories that we've got for South of Scotland in 2024. It's all up on the website. Have a think about what information you might need to gather before anything and before starting. Questions and criteria for every category are on the websites, and the link's been shared in the chat already. And the format for application is that we ask you for an executive summary and 3 scored questions, each with a maximum of 500 words. The executive summary is not scored, but it's a great way for you to provide, as a business, as an applicant, a summary on who you are and provide a bit of context on your business to the judges. The judges are looking for a variety of key things from you as an applicant. What are you doing that sets you apart? What is unique about you, your application, about your project you've been working on, about your activity? Scottish tourism is all about being authentic and telling your story, and we want that to shine through in your application as well. It's all about evidence, facts, and figures, and we're asking you to be able to demonstrate and back up anything that you are saying in your answer. We really want to see some of the impacts of your activity, whether that's increase in visitor numbers, web or social stats, evidence of an increase in visitor footfall as a result of activity, return on investments, positive TripAdvisor reviews. There can be many ways in which you are evidencing the great work that you are doing within that application. Also good to assume the judges don't know anything about your business or activity. What do you want them to know when you unpack that application? And all 3 answers carry equal weighting and need to be strong, not just 1 or 2. So I'm now going to give some top tips for completing your entry. So we can move on to the next slide. And when we went with some of the South of Scotland business leaders yesterday, I think the message coming through to Sarah Morag and the team were keep it simple and answer the questions. And I suppose if there's one message I'm going to say over the next few slides, lots of words, lots of top tips, is keep it simple and answer the questions. So tip number one, take time to read and understand what the questions are asking you and ensure you begin the process as early as possible. Sarah's already mentioned that. You could complete the answers offline and try reading what you've put down out loud. Ask someone else who knows your business to proofread your entry before you submit. Take as much time in advance to put that application through. Make it easy and clear for the judges to read and understand the key points. Judges aren't looking for perfectly polished answers, but make sure that you use a spell check. It always helps. Point number 3, no additional supporting evidence is accepted. So use opportunities to provide on the entry form web links when they are asked for, or if there's something specific within your copy that you're going to send through that you want to draw to the judge's attention, you can include that within one of your answers to the questions. We could move on. We're going to look at a specific question that pops up across a number of the Thistle Award categories, and just want to unpack this just to go through what we're specifically looking for. So if you were to be asked the following question as part of your application, what actions are you currently undertaking to develop your business? What do you hope to achieve and how are you measuring success? So you will see that question within the application form that you're completing online, and then you will be given the following narrative to help you in terms of writing up that application. You should provide clear evidence of current developments on how benefits will be monitored, measured, for example, through visitor feedback, increased revenue, target market statistics. Please cover any areas you think are relevant, although you may wish to include aspects such as plans for new and innovative products, new collaboration and partnership working, intentionally targeting new markets or increasing footfall, and obtaining awards or accolades. Probably good to note that things are in bold within the question, and they're in bold for a reason, and we can unpack that as we move on to the next slide. Thank you. So in terms of answering those questions, we're also asking, maybe just go back one slide if that's okay. Yep, that's the one. So just what are the actions you're currently undertaking to develop your business? What do you hope to achieve and how are you measuring the success? Ensure you answer all parts of the question. This example is asking for two things. What have been your actions as a business and what are your measurements of success? Consider using the headings to clearly signpost how you are addressing each part. You should provide that clear evidence, and the clear evidence is put in bold. Don't just tell us what you've done, but show us and provide some of that backup and some of that evidence to help inform your answer. If we move on to the next slide. Thank you. Please cover any areas where you think are relevant, although you may wish to include the aspects that are listed in front of you. These can actually be the bullet points that you use to get you started to think around how you form your answer, but you could also use these as headings within your answer. So you could break that down into the 4 headings and just provide some detail and some evidence for each of those 4 bullet points. Also want to just show you how we score the answers. So I wonder if we can move on to the next slide. And this is the kind of scoring mechanism that is used by the judges. Group of judges will work across the category and they will score all the applicants independently of each other. And the judging panel has in the past included industry leaders and members of the Visit Scotland team coming together, independently scoring, and then meeting together then to bring their scores together, discuss and deliberate on each application, and obviously come up with shortlisted and winning entries for each. So you can see that there's quite a robust difference in the scoring criteria. Each question is marked out of 10, and that outstanding, what is an outstanding answer to a question? This rating should be reserved for entries which have fulfilled the full criteria to the highest level and to which other entrants might aspire. So that is given a 9 or 10 scoring. 7 or 8 is that exceeding expectations should be clear, consistent, and recognisable evidence that the judging criteria has been exceeded. 5 and 6, meeting expectations, the rating demonstrates entry criteria that have been clearly demonstrated and met. If you're awarded 3 or 4 points, it's maybe too early, or we're being provided with insufficient evidence, and that rating indicates that the entry criteria might has not been met or demonstrated, but it has anticipated that you as an applicant are on track to achieve them. 1 to 2, not meeting the requirements, not meeting those judging criteria, and we won't score if no evidence is provided. So that's how we are looking at the scores and what the scoring looks like through the process. So hopefully that's just given you a quick skip through some of the thoughts of the judges and how they are looking at entries and how they are scoring, and some of the criteria that's consistent from all the judges that we use. Just want to, in summary, show the last slide here again, just to encourage you to be authentic. The judges want to know you, and you need to think about what makes your business special, and we want to see that passion of you as a fantastic business shine through. That whole thing about just reading the questions carefully and making it easy as possible for the judges to understand your answers. If there's something you want the judges to know, say it explicitly. Don't rely on your own website or social media to do it for you. And finally, really important that we continue this dialogue is that don't be shy to ask for feedback at the end of the process. If you're not successful on this occasion, request feedback as to why you've not been successful, and this will help perhaps improve your entry for the next season or the next time of Scottish Thistle Awards. So that feedback is available to all, and the judges are, when they're deliberating, will be taking notes and be able to provide some of that feedback into the team at Visit Scotland to help inform moving forward. So Sarah, hopefully that's been helpful just as a breakdown, bit of a guide to take through. Key message back from industry when again spoke to them yesterday is answer the questions, and I'm sure Rory will say that in a few minutes as well.
Thank you so much, Gordon. Absolutely, and actually one of the industry who reported yesterday, who was a judge for the first time, she said that once she started to go through the judging process and saw the way that those questions that they had to respond, she realized that she wasn't going to win. And it was quite interesting that whole process. And so the conversation yesterday, well, that's really interesting, and it really should be transparent. You can understand that. So it's really just sort of making sure you absolutely take advantage of looking at those questions, and how you make sure that your answer is that 9 or 10 that Gordon refers to, rather than that 8 or 9, because that will make the difference between being either not a finalist or being a winner. So each time, always trying to just give yourself every opportunity to get every single point. Right, moving on to Andrea. Andrea, who is going to speak specifically about responsible tourism. Over to you, Andrea.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Gordon. That was a great setup on exactly what the judges are looking for on the sustainability, on the Thistle Awards. My background is I set up and started green tourism 27 years ago, so quite a long time ago. Because I was only 10 at the time, and I sit on the industry panel for the Thistle Awards, and I've been a judge on the Highlands and Islands Tourism Awards now for about 2-3 years. So I'm very aware of the process, and obviously the responsible tourism is a key part of the awards now, just 2 or 3 years ago, introducing it into the criteria. And just to reiterate, everything that Gordon has said applies the responsible tourism question as well. And again, it is, all questions are scored equally. So please don't think this is an add-on. It's not that important. There will be loads of things that you as a business will be doing, even if you don't consider yourself to be the leader in responsible tourism. A lot of it is quite practical. And just to confuse things slightly, in that there's actually 4 parts to this question. So the responsible tourism question has 4 priority areas, which Gordon summarised before. This is what's in the criteria document, but just for you to be aware, you do need to try and provide information on each of these areas. So the low carbon economy net zero element is one of the areas, one of the subsections. Ensuring that you as a business, or anything that you do or events that you're putting on, are also inclusive is second section. Ensuring that your tourism events contribute to thriving communities. I'm going to break these down a bit clearer in the next slides, but ensuring that you're involving and supporting your local community is section 3. And then supporting the protection and enjoyment of Scotland's natural and cultural heritage is part 4. So when you're doing your offline drafting of your application, it would be definitely very sensible to actually say under question the responsible tourism, which is question 3, you actually set yourself 4 subsections and make sure you put something in your answer for each of those subsections. Some of them you might be doing a lot in, some of them less in, but if you don't include something in each of those sections, you won't get you won't get any kind of score attributed to that. And if we move on to the next slide, Sarah, we can actually see how that scoring works. So as I said, all 4 areas are important. Even if you're only doing a little bit in one of them and massive in others, don't not put something in all 4, because to get 9 or 10, you need to provide evidence-based activities in all 4 areas. And evidence, as Gordon's explained, is about having information, having measurements, having facts, being able to back it up, and links to website and social media. You know, it's a small number of text in your total 500 words, but it could be links to your green page or your community page or your menu on your website that explains all the local food that you're providing. So 9 to 10 is all 4 areas must be mentioned. 7, 8, you've got to provide good evidence in at least 2 or more areas, and then some reference to something you're doing in another area. 5 to 6 is 1 area or more and 1 other area. And then if you don't provide any information or very limited evidence in 1 or more, it's 3 or 4. And if you don't put anything in, then obviously you're down at 1 or 2, and question not answered is 0. So that's how the scoring is interpreted by the judges for the responsible tourism, on top of the information that Gordon gave you about it being outstanding and exceeding expectations. All of that is important as well. So, but it's, as a judge, I see quite a lot of applications where they've just not mentioned simple things they're doing that you might think, well, that's not important, I won't mention it, but that obviously reduces your overall score that you're going to achieve because you haven't actually even mentioned it. If we move on to the next slide, Sarah, so in terms of breaking it down, those 4 subsections, the low carbon economy is very much on what you might call the environmental side. So it's the resources, it's the net zero, it's reducing your carbon, and it includes any aspect you're doing in your business, but in particular, obviously reducing energy and decarbonising, which can be simple things like lighting or new equipment you've bought, boilers. It might be some outstanding things like you put in renewable energy, that kind of thing. But it can also be staff training, switch off campaigns, information you're providing your guests on how to have a lower carbon holiday or visit. And that's also important within the travel. So what you're doing for staff travel and business travel, you might be doing a survey of staff, how are they traveling? You might be working out how much carbon, on the bus journey or the car journey, or you might be promoting a lot of information for your guests on what they can do on walking and cycling in the area, not using the car. And also reducing waste is a key part of it. Obviously there's carbon related to all products, food and packaging and recycling. So I know you're limited to 500 words. So use bullet points. I mean, that within this section in particular, what we're really looking for is less descriptive marketing spiel, if that makes sense. And we're more looking about the facts. What have you done? How much did you save? What did you, what's your visitors' impact? Those kind of things are really crucial in all parts of the responsible tourism question, but in particular in this, the low carbon section. We move on to the next one. It's so inclusivity, and again, obviously there's legal requirements in terms of inclusivity, in terms of accessibility, but you might be going over and beyond. So thinking about visitors with access requirements around physical disabilities, but also hidden disabilities. And a lot of businesses now are doing actions around dementia or autism friendly, providing quiet places, in terms of dietary, looking at what you're providing, and going over and above just having one vegan option on your menu would be what the judges were looking for. And then providing facilities for staff or visitors' well-being. If you're a bigger organisation, you might have mental health first aiders, you might do meditation areas, you might be providing support for your staff or for your visitors in those kind of areas, and embracing diversity as well. All of these lists are ideas, there's suggestions. It's not, this is the list you've got to do. You might be doing a lot in one area and not in others, but just put in what you're doing so that the judges can make sure that they give you as much credit as possible. The next section is about thriving communities, and I'm sure this is something that everybody will be doing a lot on in terms of supporting local purchasing, and that's food and drink, but it's also crafts and local artists. You might be promoting it, you might be selling it, you might be using them. You might have a local employee strategy, using local tradesmen, or again the community support, whether it's it's something to do with festivals or a walking event or a bloom or anything that's about supporting local community, even to the point of providing free space for the local charity to come and use your back room for a meeting, those kind of things, or contributing to the school projects. And then the last section is very important, obviously, natural and cultural heritage. And again, a lot of you will be doing this anyway in your business. I mean, that's why a lot of your visitors are coming to Scotland to enjoy the outdoors, the culture, the heritage, and actually making sure that within your application, you clearly explain how you're doing that. And it's everything from the nature reserves and history of the area, what you're doing to promote music. You might be hosting events, or you might be promoting it to your visitors. And then if you've got grounds, that you might be doing habitat creation, you might have a bug hotel in your garden, you might be doing something around your maintenance to ensure that it's better for biodiversity, and even if you don't have grounds, you can still do something to support wildlife charities or organisations that are promoting the natural and cultural heritage of Scotland. So I hope that gives you an idea. The most crucial thing, definitely as a judge, is that I get so disappointed when I know the business and I know they're doing a lot and they just haven't provided a little bit of information under all of those 4 areas.
Andrea, thank you so much. I mean, that I think just having those checklists, just from my point of view, that starts that brainstorm, that you can, so actually that that requirement you set us at the beginning is you've got to respond to all 4. Well, actually, when you break it down, it becomes slightly more manageable, and you think you can do that. And I think that's sort of the takeaway, is something that I've taken from speaking to you over the last few months about it, is that the chances are you are really doing some of this already. It's just recognizing and putting it down and celebrating you're doing it, rather than just assuming it's known. So thank you so much, Andrea. Right, from Andrea on to one of our national Thistle winners, not only one but two, but the other one doesn't count because it wasn't in the south of Scotland. But fantastic, Rory. Thank you so much for joining us from the Cross Keys Inn in Ettrick Bridge.
Indeed, yes, coming from you live with my award right here in the Cross Keys. Thank you, Sarah, for asking us to come along and give a bit of insight as to how we achieved our success this year. A bit of kind of full disclosure, in a previous career, I actually used to do a lot of award entry writing for clients in a marketing services agency that I used to have for many years. So I've been very well versed, and a lot of the comments that have come before I wholeheartedly agree with, and absolutely bang on in terms of the clarity and answering questions and being very concise and being very evidence-based. That's something which came very naturally to us as we compiled our award entry for the Thistles. But that said, you know, it was still a real challenge for us to pull this together. We were a relatively new business. We only opened last year, just towards the tail end of the judging period. And so we had a very new and exciting story to tell. And lots of, you know, wonderful insights into the building of the business and the engagement in the community, and all that was compiled and put together into the application. I think, you know, what obviously has been a real surprise to us as well. You know, we did this as a bit of a learning experience as to doing one entry, and then, you know, perhaps we can target, you know, down the line for the future. So to win not only the regional class but also the national class came as a real surprise, but a very pleasant one and a very welcome one, given the impact it's had on the business and on trading, in particular from guests coming to stay overnight in the rooms that opened up. And that has come from the publicity. Obviously, we, with my marketing background, I've worked hard on different elements, that pushing it through our social channels, pushing it through PR, but also the work that the SSDA and Visit Scotland did with their media partners was automatically a huge win for us. So the News International was a key media partner for Visit Scotland, and so we saw, you know, great coverage in the Times and the pullout sections, and also in the Sun. And it's not just about the one-off there. You know, being a big media organisation, there was further polls which the Sun organised to see which is, you know, the must-see destination for 2024, of which we were listed alongside the other regional winners from other regions to get that accolade. Unfortunately, we're pipped at the post by another one, but it just allowed the news cycle to keep going with that media partner, which was great. Obviously, the local newspapers picked it up and ran with it, but also we used it as a hook to get journalists to come and visit our pub, and we've seen further coverage from the likes of the Telegraph and the National and various other titles from journalists who've been to visit us on the back of us winning the accolade. So there's huge benefits from a kind of an old traditional media perspective, but also social media. We're obviously out there posting it organically, that we had been nominated both the regional level and winning on the regional level, and nominated on the up towards the national level, and then encouraging, you know, everybody to give us our support and our lights as we headed up to the final event in Glasgow. And then obviously coming away with the award. And it's not just on our kind of Facebooks and our own kind of our organic channels. It's about reposting that into wider groups here in the valleys, in the Ettrick and Yarrow valleys, down into Selkirk and wider across the border. So that kind of, you know, feel good content does go wide and far, and people are, you know, really great and really to see it and supportive when they see it. By giving it their likes, and that all helps with the kind of, you know, the organic algorithms that we're not actually having to spend money in boosting these posts. It's traveling well as a good news story. So the kind of the publicity element has obviously been fantastic in terms of, you know, say the drive of revenue to the business through people coming up to see just how good the food is with our chef, or see, you know, just how comfy the rooms are. And you know, that the uplift we've seen, and the just anecdotal people saying why they come to the pub has been on the back of them seeing the Thistle Award has been, you know, justification for all the hard work that went into entering it. I think one that somebody touched on earlier was staff morale, and absolutely it gave everybody a huge lift to be part of, you know, a national winning team. But it's also about kind of motivating staff, saying, well, look, you know, we've won this big award. The eyes are on us. People are going to be coming through the door expecting great things. So we've really got to deliver against that, and actually using it as a motivational tool for them to feel real pride and to feel that they've got to keep those standards and really excel. And I've noticed a big difference in the staff since we've won the award on ensuring that the standards are up there all the time, that they don't let them drop, which is absolutely fantastic. But it's also about recruiting staff. You know, we're in a rural environment, and getting staff can be really challenging. But actually, you know, people want to come and work for Scotland's best pub. It's great being able to do that, and we've, you know, brought in some new kitchen members of the team on the back of it as well, which has been, you know, it all adds to the positivity around staff and the recruitment of them. There's another customer phoning. In terms of kind of, sort of the takeaways and sort of learnings of things that went into our award entry, absolutely what we said about being very concise, using bullet points. You may have a limited word count, so feel free about editing, taking away, editing, and being really committed on it. It is a real challenge to you know, to get your story across in what is a limited word count at times, and so using you know, the offline documents to do that, and sense checking it with others. You know, don't sit in your little silo doing it. Take the questions to other people and have them you know, give a critique of it, and they'll often add some valuable insight to it. So edit is absolutely key before hitting that final submit button. And the point about, you know, evidence-based, using facts, figures, using links, you know, to bring it to life, because you know, you are limited in what you can submit as additional supporting materials. So, you know, links to articles that third parties have written about you and so forth are all really valuable. And I think as well is, you know, enjoy it. You know, if you've been fortunate enough to get nominated, you know, and lucky enough to even win at the finals or even the regional finals, you know, really enjoy it and share that enjoyment with your staff. It's a lot of work that goes into it, and so, you know, we work bloody hard to in our businesses, and you know, when other people see that and recognize it, you know, take a step back and give yourself that pat on the back and enjoy a glass or two. Not too many, as I perhaps did too much up at the Hilton, but it's certainly, you know, a wonderful night to remember these occasions and to share, you know, them with other businesses in the region and beyond is all part of the fun and games of entering it.
Thanks so much, Rory.
I'll hand back to you. I'm conscious of time, and I'm sure people have got lots of questions that they want to
ask. Yeah, no, that's absolutely great. Thank you. And I've been scribbling down your extra sort of recommendations, and what we'll do is we'll keep adding it to the website that people have got those points as well. So that was really useful. Thank you very much. So yeah, just opening it. I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen because I sort of feel I'm looking at a place and I can't see anybody. So I'm going to stop sharing and seeing if anybody has any any particular questions. No pressure at all, but is just wondering if Francis is still there, and whether you wanted to, having been a winner as well, whether you wanted to give some thoughts or raise some questions, and then we'll open up to anybody else. Ah, there you are, Francis.
I'm here. No, I think I fully endorse everything that's said, especially what Rory said about enjoying the night. And I think for us, one of the most important things has been team building, because we have a large number of volunteers. Just a little anecdote for you: we've got these wonderful Roman artifacts, but the first thing that most people get pointed out when they arrive in, look, our award. And I actually have seen volunteers taking people to actually see the award, because they are just so proud and chuffed about it. But no, a lot of what's been said today, I fully relate to. And I think my only other bit of advice is, it's amazing, even just going back and re-editing and editing again, you can find ways of saying things in far less words than you originally write. So think of all those shortcuts of saying things and cutting down 3 words to 1 word. It all makes a difference in the end.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you, Francis. Well, I shall add that to that bullet points, and we'll add it onto the list. Has anybody got any questions to ask our fantastic team here?
You have a couple of points in the chat.
Oh, do I? Sorry, I can't do 2 things at once. What was the what was the
so
chat?
The first question comes from Lucy. Can I ask how an accommodation provider covers the inclusivity section, please, when we are rural cottages which are not accessible? Which is also related to the question coming in from Lynn. Yes, same here. Our B&B rooms are accessed via an external staircase. Will the info on the slides be available in note form? So that was just another question. So, but it's the inclusivity section for certain types of businesses.
If I jump in here, Sarah, I think
thank you.
As my slide did explain, accessibility, I think physical accessibility is one element of the inclusive section, and there's lots of other things that you could be doing, and you can mention that within your application because of your wonderful ancient old listed building. You haven't got accessible stairs or whatever, but you're doing lots of other things around. Potentially, you could be a living wage employer. You could be doing stuff with the local group in terms of LGBT and things like that. So there's the inclusivity section is not just focused on physical accessibility.
Brilliant, thank you. I can see you've got Jasmine. Hi, you've got your hand up.
Hi, I actually just wanted to jump in on the inclusivity to help that lady out. We're a farm experience attraction, so obviously lots of hills, lots of movement, lots of ground. But as a family with children with quite significant disabilities, I would push the point to everyone I ever know that it's a mindset, and the more you can be the most inclusive business by just being accepting of other people and offering to help. You know, just that whole mindset of, if you're going to arrive with us and you've got a child or an adult with you that doesn't want to talk or can't hear or can't see or is doing really weird things, for you to push that you are inclusive in your mindset is huge, because actually the number of wheelchair users versus the number of people that are mentally disabled or hindered or have visual or hearing impairments is actually quite significantly different. So yeah, just a point to help you out there is you can be so accessible just in your mindset.
Thank you for that. I just see, I can see Lucy's come back. Perhaps you might look at the chat, Andrew, and we can just look at that. But Angie, I can see your hand is up. Ah, now you don't look like you're on mute, but we can't hear you, unless it's just me who can't hear you.
Nope, now you are on mute, Angie.
No, try again. No. Oh, how annoying. Perhaps if you'd like to pop something into the chat box, and we can read that. We can read that there. Perhaps Lucy.
Just to point out, I've put a link in the chat to just unpack a wee bit more on responsible tourism and inclusivity and what that means across a sort of wide range of topics. And there's some helpful links in there that can unpack that for some of those questions.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Gordon. And just looking, I can see Aviva has said feedback on last year application. Gordon, can we still get feedback now? You can certainly get feedback after the event. Is that still available?
We can ask the question. Okay,
we'll come back to you. I don't know who you are, Aviva. If you could just email me, that would be fantastic. Sarah@ssda.com. ssdaalliance.com. I'll put it in the chat in a minute. Anybody else that is there? I'm being reminded by my colleague Morag that there will be a recording and the slides that are coming through, as well as access on the website. Does anybody have any other questions while Angie still types out her question?
Oh, Angie's question is now up, Sarah.
Oh, good. Okay, so Angie has asked, all our information on most of the things mentioned today are available on the app, which is directly sent to the booked clients. How do I get that into the application, as I would need an email address? What would you suggest there, Gordon? Have I lost Gordon?
No, he's here.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just reading the question again. Is this in terms of linking to data?
Angie, why don't you send it to yourself and then copy and paste it as an image? Oh no, you can't do an image, can you? Sorry, I'm trying to solve the problem. I understand what the situation is.
I think perhaps let's discuss it offline, Angie. Again, get in touch with me and we'll come up with something. My initial reaction, but then I've not been a judge, would be therefore to highlight it as available, and that you give a summary, and therefore that will encourage the judge to go and have a look. But I'm writing in my email now. Here we go. Anything else? I'm conscious now that it's just after. God, I really can't do two things at once. It's just after 3. I said we'd keep it to 3 o'clock. Any other questions? But if Francis.
Just a question in the application process. Would there be any harm in you adding a bit where you could add like 3 images? Because there sometimes, having done other applications where you can add a limited amount of images, and I know it's difficult already with the sheer amount of things that the judges have to do, but a picture speaks 1,000 words, and is that possible to add that into the application process?
We can certainly feed that back. I'll happily feed that or ask that question. I don't know the answer to that, but absolutely. I mean, conversations yesterday with previous winners will feed back into how we develop going forward in future. I don't know the answer to that, Francis, but I will definitely ask the question. Anybody else? Anything else? Or can I just? Oh yes. Hello, Sarah. You're on mute.
Oh, hi. So can you hear me?
Yep.
You can hear me. Okay. So following on from the question before, so when we're filling in the questions and there is 3 questions marked out of 10, we need to put in as much as we can, up to 500 words, and we can put links in there to different websites, our website probably, and things to evidence all our all the answers to our questions. So will it be, if we can put in photos or pictures as well, can we put in a certain amount of links? Or I know earlier on in the conversation, in the speakers, you were mentioning that some places you weren't to put in links. Is it just in the 3 questions that you put in the links? Does that make sense? Sorry.
It does make sense, and perhaps Gordon can spill the beans on that.
Yeah, I think as part of your 500 words, you are able to put links to your website, or if you want to highlight pages within your TripAdvisor reviews, or if it's something that you've got evidence that you would like to show, that you can link to that within your application. Obviously, that's part of your 500 words. Just on the conversations around pictures or other imagery, at the moment we have opened up the application process, so we probably do need to feedback that feedback that's come in. So whether that is something that we can action for this year, I don't think we would be able to, but we can take all feedback on board going forward. But Sarah, I understand we can send the slides around the group as well, because that will unpack some of the things that I went through, and I think it would be helpful.
I will do, yes. Just having a moment to look at the questions. People are asking, yes, I promise you, I will send you the an example of the presentation, so you've got that information.
Great.
Excellent. Okay. I think I will therefore draw this to an end, but this is, of course, just the beginning. What we all now need to do is to march forward, south of Scotland altogether, ready to celebrate what we have locally, celebrate our quality, and anything that we can do at SSDA to support. We're obviously keen, but you can see there is a wider team here to support. This is just the beginning. This is the start. Have a look at that application and be ready to start applying on the 18th of March. Give it time from what everyone has said. Obviously, give yourself time, edit, and then edit one more time. Make sure you have your evidence, and enthusiastically talk about your own space, because that enthusiasm will come through. And together we will go forward and continue to raise the profile of the south of Scotland. Da, 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 da. So thank you so much, all of you. Really appreciate it. And I will follow through with the slides and the video in due course.